someone told me
Took a long
that,
time.
yeah, I was like, only a crazy person would do that, but here you are. Wonderful. So I would love to know, obviously just absolutely stunning visuals. So with a film like this, does the story come to you first, or do the visuals come to you first?
Well, this was like kind of an emotion first scenario. Like, it was an effort to express a series of emotions and patterns, and really wasn't meant to be like seen, by anybody when I started it. And I also thought it was going to take me 1 year at the most, And so then every year I just think, oh, I'm almost done,
That's what he
So-
told me too.
Yeah.
I truly thought, I'm like, yeah, I'm close, this will be it, but it just keeps taking more and more time. But so, yeah, it was an effort to congeal emotions in sort of the art form I'm most familiar with, which is 3D animation. I suppose the visuals really come along with the emotion, because that's sort of how my mind works. I don't think like words first, I think visuals first. So that was sort of my mental, jumping off point.
No, absolutely. And as a filmmaker and as a film watcher, I imagine, what is your connection to this genre, to animation? What made you decide, I want to make an animated movie?
Well, I started animating when I was very young. I just fell in love with animation, and particularly 3D animation, because you can kind of get closer to reality, in my opinion. Like, the more detail you have, the more, I think, the emotional response that you elicit from the viewer. And it just started when I was very young, so it's my career. I am like a 3D artist by trade, so just as a form of expression, it came very naturally to jump into this.
I love that. I love what you said too about getting closer to reality, because one thing that struck me, even the opening frames, the lighting is so spectacular, and even like the opening of the movie with all of the dad stuff and everything like that. For 2 seconds, I was like, wait, Jeff told me this was an animated movie. Is this not animated? Am I in the wrong theater?
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
yeah, you fooled me.
Fantastic.
I also think it's so unique because, yes, you have these crazy, almost Kubrick-esque visuals, especially towards the end. But to me, what really grounded it was, I don't think I've ever seen such a human moment in an animated film as when she's biting herself in the bathroom. Like, that was absolutely incredible. So how do you balance the emotion with the visuals?
Well, I don't know if I would say I balance it at all, really, I just, in my mind, like, I had something that I felt, and when the visuals approached the feeling to an adequate degree, that's when I'm like, okay, then that shot's done, or that scene is done. But maybe, speaking of emotion, maybe Lauren or Sil can speak more on that, because without them, there would be no emotion in the movie at all.
Yes, that is very true. So, from an actor's point of view, so when does Benjamin come to you and be like, hey, I have this thing I'm doing, was this 7 years ago you were brought in?
Yes.
Yes?
So
Okay.
I auditioned, didn't know Ben, and it was a very strange thing because as an actor, I'm used to like the self-tape setup of just like, here up. And I remember the sides were just that scene with her on the telephone trying to call, maybe her ex-beau, we might assume. And then she, like, in the sides, she takes off running, and that's like all I got. And because I was shooting from like here up, I was like, well, I'll show it like here, a little bit, and run off. And I'm so lucky that Ben chose me, because motion capture is, as I learned, the most perfect meld, I think, of my theater training from college and then the film acting I've gotten out here in LA, because you've got this thing around your face capturing everything in close-up at all times, but then your body can do all these wonderful theatrical things as if you're playing to the back row, and you can do both at once, which is not typical of acting. You're either doing theatrical or you're doing, on-camera stuff. And so emotionally, you get to do it all and feel it all, and that was just a pleasure and joy.
So, were you given any visuals beforehand?
No,
No?
not
Okay,
at all.
just- you
And
just
and
kinda
it's
have a
funny
natural
because
element.
we did do this like 8 years ago. So like I watch it now and I go, oh crap, like I could have been reacting to that thing that I did. But I guess that's every actor's plight when you're dealing with green screen or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure that's always the complaint. But yeah, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, and you know, me 8 years down the line knows way more things than I did. And also, he kept me in the dark on a lot of things, so.
Intentionally or?
No, no,
No,
I
okay.
just didn't know what it was gonna look like.
Fair enough. So moving on to the music, again, I'm asking the same question. At what point were you brought on? Did you have a script? Did you know anything? Did you
Right.
just have some previs?
It certainly wasn't 7 years, but it was early. It was like 3, 4 years ago. There were renderings in place. I think Ben brought me by to watch a very early cut of the film, and at that point, it looked nothing like this. And so there was a lot left to interpretation for me. But as Ben said, the original idea when it was brought to me was that it was this very emotional, grounded story about this woman dealing with generational trauma and suicide and stuff in the family. So that was like the anchor, the creative anchor musically to start with. But then, as these amazing visuals came in, I realized there was more gravitas to this, and so yeah, it was very fun to like see the renderings come in throughout the process and just kind of. I realized I had to level up my game as as the visuals came in, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's really amazing because starting with you, Ben, you even said it's the feeling first, it's the emotion first, it's the emotion first. So when you start to see these visuals become more and more grand and you have that like, I don't know if you had a freak out moment, like holy shit, like this is incredible, how do you adjust what you're gonna do?
Just make it more badass, I guess. No, well, I think the original idea we discussed was that there was the introspective music for Saoirse and the more haunting music for the storm, and then when she enters the storm, the two themes would converge in some way. And so that was the goal. If that was achieved, I hope. But it was kind of just like So it just happened naturally, I guess, to answer your question. Like the emotional stuff led naturally into the stuff with more gravitas when she enters.
So it took you had 3 years to write this score, or he just brought you on 3 years ago?
3 years ago, it was like on and off. I would provide music, and then he came back to me once there were future developments. It was just like an ongoing, amazing process to see as it evolved.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to your patience that you stuck with it through. I'm trying to think like 7 years ago, COVID wasn't a thing yet. We're in a whole different world. That's pretty amazing of you. So I guess because you're so involved, how do you remain objective?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I was. And watching it now, you know, I think every artist, like, I just see like 10,000 flaws that I could have fixed,
Yeah,
like, you know.
right.
And I was a different artist 8 years
Yeah.
ago too. So yeah, of course, like it feels different seeing it now, and I don't think I was objective. I think early on it was much more objective. Like directing Lauren, we had like 3 days on the mocap stage, and then her face took me a year, and during that period, I was like highly critical and highly objective, and I think that got lost as the years went by, to be honest. But you know, hopefully it kind of anchored back to the script and, you know, functioned emotionally.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, and I forgot it. Did you have everything written out, even the visuals, or did those kind of come along the way?
Yeah, I'd written everything out and I'd storyboarded everything, but as you go along, a lot of stuff did change, and a big part of that is just technical limitation.
Of course.
You know, and what's nice though is like when you have this performance, you know, it's in isolation, so her body movement and her finger movement are totally separate, and her face is animated separately from everything else. So I had the freedom to adjust and just have it, like, let's say the environment or the happenings around her match her performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I had plenty of time to do that, obviously. But yeah, like just technical limitations like shifted it, and so you had to like, well, for example, her hair used to be long, and I was trying to do like hair dynamics for like 2 years, and it just never quite fully got there. It was like distracting, and so I went back to my groom artist and I said, hey, can you give me like a short haircut? But then that ended up being like better for the character. You know, it's kind of like happy accidents will
Sure.
show up if you give it enough breathing room, a few extra years.
Yeah. So were there any moments where the technology wasn't quite caught up to what you were trying to achieve?
Um,
The lighting.
oh. Well, I guess technically no, but what Lauren just mentioned was the running. So when we were doing the bulk of the performance, our stage was like 20 by 20 feet or something like that. And so to do these long running shots, I had to run back and forth.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm gonna stitch these runs together to make like the final run. And then I did that and it looked like shit. So what we ended up doing is getting a motion capture suit, an external suit. So that's separate from the stage and that allows the freedom to go anywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so when you see her running, like she ran like a couple miles. Like we actually had her run around the track and she actually like ran into the storm. And then the result is significantly better than trying to stitch together pieces of a performance that aren't necessarily aligned.
Of course, yeah. Well, I think this is a good time to announce that The Storm has officially won the Grand Jury Award for Best Animated Feature. But seriously, man, I don't know many people, let alone filmmakers, who have the patience to stick with anything, let alone 7 years worth of anything at this level and so grand. So I think this award is very well deserved.
I appreciate that, thank you. I do wanna say, like, you know, the super long credits, like, part of the reason they're super long is one, I wanted to hit that 60 minutes.
Yeah.
But the other part of it was like, every single person, like, it literally, like, I'm not kidding when I say it, if one piece was missing, it could not have been achieved, including things like witness camera and stuff, like, you just cannot put it together technically. And without these two, there would be no story at all. Like, you know, the best collaborators in the world, so I thank you guys.
Thank you, Matt.
So before we let you go, what's next for you, Ben?
I'm VFX soup on a buddy of mine's film, which should be really fun. And then we're gonna hopefully try to keep showing this in the festival circuit, so.
That's great. Well, thank you guys so much, and one more big round of applause.